Great. So welcome everyone. I'm sure there's going to be a couple of people, a few latecomers come in, and I'm just going to leave them in through the waiting room one by one. But I think the majority of us are here. So I know that all your mics are on mute. And if you could just keep them on mute, just because sometimes when there's loads of people on a Zoom session, the interference gets a bit funny. But we do want to try and make this webinar session as interactive as possible. So I'm sure a lot of you already know who I am. You're probably sick to death of listening to me. But we're just running a webinar. This is with our last one actually of 2020, and we're looking at how we're going to use TEFL or having a TEFL certificate or going abroad in 2021 and kind of what the future holds with it. It's been an uncertain year for all of us for sure, and especially for us in our business as well. We were so unsure what would happen, so uncertain. But the great news is that we have two lovely speakers today with us who agreed to join us, which is great. We have Jess, which some of you could have met before because she was with us on a webinar before, who's currently in Italy and I suppose living through the global pandemic and teaching and still living the dream essentially, and definitely not letting any of those, letting COVID stop her in any way. So she'll be giving her kind of story about what she's doing with TEFL at the moment and things like that. And then we also have a lovely new guest speaker, Saoirse, who is also part of our student alumni, and she's actually heading off to Japan, which kind of gives it I suppose a bit of a difference, because Jess would be all about Europe and, you know, traveling kind of closer to home, and then to have somebody kind of go to Asia and look at the barriers there, or should I say the opposite, not having any barriers, going to Japan, which is amazing. As we always do with the webinars, we will leave time at the end for questions and answers, but feel free in the chat box, guys, if you want to leave questions throughout, you know, if things come into your head, and if I have a look at them there and I see them, I'm more than happy to answer them throughout the session, but we will have time for a Q&A session at the end. So I suppose before we go into looking at everybody's story with TEFL, I'm not sure if people here are TEFL qualified or they don't have TEFL certs, they're looking to get TEFL qualified. And I suppose I'll just tell you a bit about the situation and us for traveling abroad. So we were very, very, very happy last night, and I know some of you were on the info session last night, to open our first internship of the year to Thailand. So this is just a step, and I suppose it's a sign to let people know that we are moving forward with TEFL, we are moving forward with internship, people are going abroad, people have booked on and people are going. And we actually have, you can check it out on our Instagram as well. We have a girl who has just gone to Thailand, and she actually went through the quarantine process and all that kind of thing. So she only left the country, I think, 2 weeks ago, and she's just coming to the end of her quarantine, and she's starting teaching in Thailand. So it's quite an interesting journey to watch on Instagram if you're any bit kind of apprehensive about, oh, what happens when I arrive and do I have to quarantine and those type of things. She goes through it all, and she actually explains about arriving and all those things in Thailand. So we're very happy with that. She is getting on great. So far so good. At the moment, we don't have many other options open. We are opening our program slowly. As of now, as I said, we do have Thailand internship open. We also have a couple of jobs open. For example, we have Japan, we have Taiwan, we have, what's another one? We have China's open as well in our job placements. So there are plenty of options there already. And we do have a lot more coming. We're just waiting for final numbers and things like that. But everything is opening up slowly, which is fantastic. If you do want to leave in the chat box a location of where you think you're going, then just pop it in there, no problem. You know, if you're thinking of going somewhere and if you want a bit of advice on that certain country, or if we know anything about it. I can already see a question there already. What about non-EU teachers interested in going to France? From Saoirse, lovely. So as of now, actually, our France internship is not open as of yet, but it is going to open, which is very exciting. And our start date for that program will actually be in September. So we're opening them slowly. I suppose Thailand is in May, so that's why everybody's applying for Thailand at the moment. Um, our our France internship will start in September, so it might be just that bit later. We might open for, I think France might be opening in January. So again, if you're not subscribed to the newsletter, or do, because when we open these programs and open these internships, you will be updated. Anything else I want to tell you before we move on? There's one question there, I'm just going to answer it. To travel with TEFL to teach, would we have to be over 21? Like for Thailand, it says 21. Is that just Thailand, or is that everywhere? So that's actually just Thailand. And actually, this was something I was going to say, that the requirements for the different internships and jobs are all different. Okay, some require degrees, some don't require degrees. Some expect you to be a certain age, some don't expect you to be a certain age. So the main thing is all the requirements will be on the pages, the internship pages and jobs. But if you're unsure, just get in touch with us, and we can definitely confirm that for you. But to answer your question, Grace, no, there are plenty of other internships and jobs that you can go on. And as well, guys, a big thing, we had people on the info session last night, and they were really super excited to go to Thailand, and they really wanted to go. And then one of them, I can't remember who, just said, look, I actually don't have a degree. Like, does that mean Thailand is out of the question for me? You know, what happens? And what I think is a great idea, and what I tell this story all the time. So for people who have been on my webinars, apologies, because this is your third or fourth time listening to hear me say this. But I've actually been to 52 countries teaching English online. So all of those on a tourist visa. So the moral of that point is that if you don't fit requirements for a certain internship or a job, guys, get your TEFL training done and start teaching online. There is nothing stopping you hopping around from country to country and, teaching online. You do not need a degree. For visas, there's going to be no visa barriers, those type of things. So, if you have a destination in mind and you don't fit the requirements for the specific job on our website, it doesn't mean you can't go. There are plenty of other options to get to that country without that specific job placement. So just get in touch, let us know your requirements, say what are my options, and we're more than happy to help. Okay, I'm going to pass you over now to Jess. Take it away, Jess.
Hi guys, my name is Jess. I am from Cork in Ireland. And just to give you some background on how I got into English teaching, I initially did a kind of internship program for Thailand with a different company in England. And when I did that, I realized how much I loved English teaching. So as well as Italy, I would really recommend Thailand. It's fantastic. But I felt after that I wanted some experience in Europe. So I was looking for internship programs online. And I think TEFL Journey was the only one that was doing Italy, and that was the top of my list. So I decided to go for it. And I just wanted some support with the internship and to do the TEFL. They provided me with TEFL courses as well, which was just fantastic to refresh as well. And yeah, I've been in Italy ever since. It's been fantastic. It's obviously been an interesting year to move abroad, but I wouldn't regret it. It's been the best year actually for me. So when I arrived, I think it was March that Italy went into lockdown, which was difficult, but I was actually really glad that I decided to travel before the pandemic actually properly it hit. So because I was already abroad and I could have that experience while my friends were at home and they couldn't leave. And also being in this, the industry of English teaching has been so good, because I think, I don't know, Kate, if you see the difference, the demand for English teaching online now has just skyrocketed. So I feel like I picked the best time to start English teaching. So because of this, I haven't been unemployed this year. Because I arrived, I was working in a school, but then we had to go online, but I was prepared for it and I was happy about that. And we've kind of been changing a lot this year. So again, I'm back online, but it's the same hours, it's the same pay. And I'm also doing private lessons as well online, which is fantastic. And they will usually look for, you know, a TEFL certificate or a CELTA or any kind of qualification is always good. So I think if you have the opportunity next year just to do it before, because you don't know what will come next. And I'm really happy I made the decision to move abroad and to start English teaching because it's my passion now. I absolutely love it. Even being in Italy, it's been one of the worst hit countries for the pandemic. So it's been a difficult year in that sense. But I feel like having this job has just like got me through the year. But in terms of living here, I absolutely love it. The culture is super, super nice. The food is really, really good. And I'm trying to learn Italian, which is a really fantastic experience to not only fit in culturally and with people, make friends, but it's really helped my teaching as well because I can empathize with the students and how difficult it is to learn a new language. So at the moment, I want to stay another year. So I want to stay even longer, which is a good sign. And I'm just at the moment constantly trying to do kind of a professional development. I've done many courses with TEFL as well. I think I've maybe done them all at this point. I don't know. But it's just been great, especially in times of when you're in isolation or quarantine. It's really good just to keep developing those skills. But I'm trying to think, what else can I say? Yeah.
I think, Jess, there's actually a question there for you down there, so I can read you out. Did you have teaching experience before you went to Italy?
Yeah, so of course I was in Thailand. That's when I started. I had about 5-6 months there, but that was with children. So that's quite different now because I teach adults, which is a lot more serious, but also, well, it's just as fun. But you know, you're doing kind of business classes. You're also doing a mix of exam prep, anything like that. So it's a bit different with adults. And then after Thailand, I think I did some kind of substitute teaching for English schools, but I didn't really have a whole lot. So when I arrived here, the school that TEFL Journey placed me with provided me with loads of training until I was happy to start teaching. So I feel if you're a bit anxious, if you don't have experience, I wouldn't worry. I think it's important to study, get your cert so you feel comfortable on the structure of English teaching, because it's, in my opinion, it's different from what you would see in primary schools or secondary schools. It's a different teaching altogether, different method. But they do accept people here without experience. So yeah, absolutely. I think if you just have a passion for it, then just go for it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just actually going to touch on that, Jess. With most of our internships and our jobs, actually, you don't need any experience. So that's the whole point. Like, that's what an internship entails, is that they understand you're a first-time teacher, especially the ones in Thailand and Italy and things like that. There's full training before you go. There's full training on arrival.
Loads of training.
Yeah, and then you also have somebody that you can kind of talk to throughout the year that will give you extra training if needed. So I wouldn't ever let that be a barrier to anybody kind of going abroad, because that's what an internship is about. And one more question, Jess, I'll pass it on to you. Were you on your own, or could you be placed with friends, or were you placed with friends? I think maybe for Italy. I'm not sure, Corinne.
No, yeah, I went by myself. So, but there was a group of a couple of other interns that I met in Florence. So we got a free trip to Florence to do 2 days of training, which was really nice to see other Irish people when you arrive. But when I was placed in Veneto, so I just live near Venice now. Yes, I'm by myself, so I decided to do it. I think this has advantages and disadvantages. I mean, in a way, it's good to go by yourself so you can kind of get to know people and not be stuck with, okay, the Irish people or someone you're familiar with, but to make friends with the locals. But it's also really good to go with friends or anyone like that. But no, I went by myself more or less.
Cool, that's lovely, Jess. Thank you.
No worries.
I'll pass it on now, actually, over to Saoirse, if that's okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Saoirse. I would say that my whole sort of TEFL journey, I suppose, started in 2018. I went to Japan. I was there for about 6 weeks and I just absolutely fell in love with it. I spent most of my time in Tokyo, and then I also had the Japan Rail Pass. So I went down to Hiroshima and Kyoto. And after I came back, I was like, oh my God, I need to spend like 1 or 2 years here. I need to really immerse myself into the culture. So I started looking into how that would be possible, and it seemed like the easiest way is to teach English as a foreign language. That's the best way to get a visa. You need to get sponsored, and it was really, I thought it would suit me a lot as well. So then I started researching different courses, and I was really drawn to TEFL.ie just because, I mean, it was Irish, the price was really affordable. I think I got like a Black Friday deal and I was like, it was half the price of other places. And then the content also really, really agreed with me. I found it really easy to learn. So I started that November 2018, finished it, the 120-hour course, February, I think, 2019. And that was my final year of college. So I was finishing up a degree in theatre and drama studies, and I did my TEFL 120 hours. I spent the rest of 2019 kind of working mostly professionally in theatre with marketing and performing and directing. And TEFL was still on my mind. It was still in the back of my mind. You know, I was checking in with the jobs boards. I was looking at my notes. I was thinking about it. But I wouldn't say that it wasn't till maybe the beginning of 2020 that I started thinking seriously about going abroad. And then the timing was kind of bad because we were like launched into a global pandemic. So I used that time in the quarantine to do more of the courses on TEFL.ie, because there were these deals that were happening where I managed to snatch like a 30-hour teaching online English course for free, and I did the 30 hours teaching young learners, and that was what made me really, really want to teach like young children, kindergarten. And I did that, and I was just sort of, that I felt was really motivating towards wanting to pursue TEFL in the future. But at the same time, it was hard to apply for jobs because, nowhere was kind of hiring. The borders in Japan were closed till October. But when I did start applying for jobs, which was maybe August, September, I was using Gaijin Pot, which I would really recommend if you're looking to go to Japan. They're, I think, specifically a site for foreigners going to Japan. They've got jobs and studies and apartments. And
Sorry, Saoirse, how do I spell that?
so it's GAIJINPOT. Gaijin Pot. Yeah, they're really, it's once you have an account there, you set up your CV and you just send it off. So I was keeping an eye on there, and TEFL.ie jobs boards, and Dave's ESL cafe was another one. And around the end of October, jobs were starting to get back to me, and I did an interview for a kindergarten in Hiroshima. And I mean, I had really good vibes from them from the beginning. They were really, really nice. All I had to do to apply was my CV and a cover letter. I think to have a work visa, I think you need a degree, and I also had to have the 120 hours. But other than that, it was, you didn't need experience, didn't need the extra courses that I had done, but it did look good when I interviewed and was able to say that I had gone and done a study for teaching young learners. And then I had a bit of experience teaching music and drama to young children. So we interviewed, I got the job, and then I had to send off my CV and a copy of my degree. Those just have to be approved, and then I signed my contract, and the next step will be applying for a visa. So the hope is that I'll be over there in February of 2021. I'll have to quarantine for 2 weeks when I arrive, which, I mean, they're not a big company. I know that a lot of people looking to go to Japan will often look to the big companies like GABA or Aeon, sort of the assistant language teacher positions, but this is like a private kindergarten in Hiroshima. But they've been really, really nice and really helpful. They are going to assist with me finding the 2-week quarantine and everything. And once that's done, I will be sort of kind of in training for a month or two before the official school year starts in April. So I'll be sort of shadowing, learning. They've got their own specific system of teaching over there that they would like me to know before kind of fully becoming like official teacher. So that's been my experience with it all. Some places are totally different for what they're looking for. I mean, I've had other interviews that were like 5-step processes with questionnaires and sample teaching. I've had to do like trial classes at like 1 a.m. But this one just, I think, really fell into place really nicely, you know, so it does depend on where you're applying for.
There's a question there, so I'll just call it out to you. Was it expensive to go to Japan? So I assume Samuel is asking about the time before, maybe. So is it expensive as a place, flights, accommodation, and what was the pay like?
So when I went and it was a holiday, I would say, yeah, it was expensive. But I also would say it's not as expensive as you see online. I watched so many YouTube videos before I went that were all like, you're gonna need thousands of euros if you want to go to Japan, but you can do it for cheap. It's like anywhere, you know. I stayed in hostels, I ate meals from 7-Eleven, which are really good and really healthy and really cheap. And so, you know, it's a good way to save money. But because you're doing those touristy outings, that money does, I think, add up. There's ways to save. Like I got the Japan Rail Pass, and that was really handy if you're looking to travel around Japan as the country. It also can be used for the JR trains in Tokyo, all around the metropolitan city. So there's ways, I think, to do it cheaper than people will tell you online. You know, I would say the most expensive thing is accommodation, and if you save on that, you'll save on loads. And in terms of pay, I know I haven't gone over yet, but I would say that most jobs in Japan are paying between 2,000 a month and maybe 2,500 a month.
Which is lovely.
Yeah.
There is another question here. Yeah, for non-EU teachers. I'm actually not sure about that, Saoirse, either. Are you sure about, do you know that about that with Japan and say?
I'm not particularly sure. I know that it can be an easier visa process for certain countries within the EU.
Yeah, that's it. And then Samuel, I'm not sure what was it a profit or all inclusive? I'm assuming you mean, was it worth it maybe? Or I'm not really sure, Samuel, if you want to kind of elaborate on that question. Yeah, I think that's it, Saoirse. Oh, we'll have one more question here. Is it hard to get a work visa for Japan?
I think once you've gotten sponsored, it's quite easy. Like that, I think will make the whole thing go so much easier. Like all I've had to do essentially is send my CV, send a copy of my degree, sign the contract, which they had also signed. All of that's got to get approved. They're going to send me forms. I go to the embassy, and I'm pretty sure that's the process. I know for Japan specifically, you can also get a working holiday visa, in which case you wouldn't need, I don't think, sponsorship from a country, but then that visa is only like 3 months long.
Mm-hmm.
So it depends on where and what you're getting.
Yeah, perfect. Well, that's great. I'm going to leave questions open there now for everybody for 2021 in general. It doesn't have to be Italy focused or Japan focused, but I mean, throw in the questions there if they're for either any of us. Feel free to do so. And at this point, I just want to say thank you so much, Jess, and thank you so much, Saoirse, for joining us. We have a question coming in there. We have a couple of questions coming in, so I'm going to get to those. So I will be 20 next summer and my friend will be 19. We're both TEFL qualified and are in our first year of college. We would like to travel next summer, but are unsure of what to do. And do we look at summer camps, or do we have other options? So there are other options for you. Again, I suppose sometimes it's a bit limiting if you don't have a degree or you're not a certain age, but there are definitely options there. Like, for example, we have a 12-week program in Cambodia that you could do during the summer. And what I will say is that in comparison to our programs like Thailand, that these programs will be more kind of volunteering. So if you're going to save money, then that's not really the one for you. So there are kind of more volunteer experiences that you can do. But if you're going to look for kind of to save and to make a career out of this, then you'd be kind of looking to wait maybe until after college, maybe to do that. But yeah, we have a great program in Cambodia that you could go to. We have a program in Angloville. It's a 1 to 3 week program in Europe, in Eastern Europe, which is a nice one to do. Again, I wouldn't be going to make money. I'd be going for the experience. But it is a nice teaching 3 week kind of holiday thing. So you could look into that. I'll just leave it there in the chat box. It's called Angloville program. And they run in, like, I think there's Malta, Poland, Romania. There's a couple of destinations there, but it's a great program in Europe. So yeah, for the Thailand internship, do you have to quarantine on arrival? If so, is this covered already through the internship fee? So you do have to quarantine. Obviously, we all don't know how life is going to change in a week's time, but as of now and as of today, you do. And actually, what I would suggest, Claudia, is there's a really good video on our website. And I think it's on Instagram, I'm not sure, but if it's not, then I can email it to you, of Shauna's experience. She's just arrived in Thailand and she goes through the whole quarantine process. So you do have to pay for the hotel and things like that. But what Shauna said on her video, and you'll see it when you go on, it's working out for, I think it was like a 4-star hotel, and she got breakfast, lunch and dinner, and she stayed the night for 14 days. And I think it worked out at like €70 a day. And that included, I know, and I was like, that's absolute, but like, that's, if we thought about going for 2 weeks holiday anywhere, that's insane. And you could go for the cheaper option, but she said she just wanted a bit of luxury when she arrived, which I completely get. So yeah, that was working out about €70 a day, is what Shauna said. If I take a course with the TEFL Institute, is the job guaranteed? So unfortunately, I can never guarantee a job. It's like, you know, doing a course or doing a degree in college, you know, you're not guaranteed a job. But what I can guarantee is that we do our very best to try and help you get a job. And once you're part of the student alumni, I always say to people, like, it's nearly impossible for you not to get a job in this industry. It mightn't always be your first preference, but there are so many options out there, so many online jobs. There's so many ways to get to your dream destination. But unfortunately, I can't guarantee, obviously, because that depends on a lot of other things. Is it possible to teach in Japan and China without a degree? No, so that's a good question. So for example, I know with Japan, to get the working permit, you do need to have a degree. So if you're somebody who doesn't have a degree, what I would suggest is, you know, getting a job online and going on a tourist visa and traveling around. You can do that, no problem. There's also another visa in China, for example, and I think it's, what's it called again? The X2 visa. But anyway, it's a work student visa, and you don't need a degree for that. But again, like Saoirse said, it's only 6 months. So it depends on what kind of visa you're looking for, how much time you want to stay in the country, all those different things. But as I said, whatever country you want to go to, it is possible to get somewhere. Okay. If you gain experience in teaching online over time, is it possible to try applying at a later time, or they not accept you at all? I think, Ben, I think that was kind of connected to the visa question, so I'll leave that one. If I want to teach somewhere with friends, is it possible to teach in the same area? So with our internships, it is possible to go together, and it is possible to stay together and live together, because all of our programs, if you apply early enough, guarantee that if you're going with a friend, that you can stay in the same house or something like that, or in the same area. So yes, in our internships, yes, is the answer to that question. Regarding France, okay. It says on the website that some teaching experience is required. So I'm just wondering, would 2 or 3 months be sufficient? What I will say about that actually is, and across the TEFL industry in general for 2021, is that a lot of places are requiring teaching experience. But as Jess said, because there's such a massive demand for English teachers right now, some schools are actually kind of a bit more lenient on those requirements and the criteria. So if you're somebody who thinks, oh, maybe I don't fit the criteria 100%, but you know, I would definitely apply, because people are crying out for teachers, and especially abroad, because I suppose a lot of people are apprehensive and a bit hesitant to go abroad. So that means there is a bigger market for teachers, which means there obviously the criteria can be a bit lenient. So yes, that's definitely enough for France. Seriously, 3 months, 100%. So yes, absolutely. And just wondering, would applicants with more experience be favoured? Yes, they would. Like, obviously having more experience is going to stand to you, like in any industry and in any job. But if you're talking about our internships, then it doesn't matter if you have experience or not. It is preferred, but it wouldn't stop you from getting into the program whatsoever. Thanks from Ben, you're welcome. David, have you any information on teaching jobs in Mexico? We don't work with anyone in Mexico at the moment, unfortunately, because I would love to go there. But what I would recommend is, we have a list of Dave's ESL Cafe is a great one. But what I would recommend, David, is you just want to call us tomorrow or email in tomorrow, and I can kind of give you a list of job websites that I would recommend. The good news about South America is that you don't need a degree, and you don't need a degree in Mexico to teach. And they're quite a bit more lenient on the criteria there as well. But I don't have any more information kind of personally on Mexico, unfortunately. With regards to online teaching, what would we need to get started? I have done several websites on teaching English online, just so I don't go into it too much here, but they're on our YouTube channel, so you can definitely go check them out. But kind of in a short answer, to give you an answer there, you need your TEFL certificate, a Wi-Fi connection, and some kind of smartphone or a laptop or device. There are a lot of countries that will take you there are a lot of online companies that will take you if you have a degree, and obviously if you don't have a degree, it's a bit more limited, but there are definitely loads of companies that will take you. Claudia, what is the most common location in Thailand for this internship? So for the one in Thailand, everybody arrives in Bangkok, and the locations are always like a 3-hour radius around Bangkok, north, east, west, or west and south. But the good news about that internship is that you always go, even if you go to a new area, you'll always go with people. There'll always be a group of 8 or 9 people go together. Any advice on teaching in Middle Eastern countries or Turkey? Actually, John, I've taught in Turkey myself. I taught in Istanbul for 4 months, back in when teaching English wasn't even that cool, back in 2014, I think 2013. So about 7 years ago, I taught in Istanbul. One of my favorite places because like it was just so different, such a different culture. Any advice on teaching in Middle Eastern countries? No, but my colleague Katie, she's not on the webinar today, and usually she is actually, but she taught in Abu Dhabi for a year. So definitely call the office and call in, and she'll be more than happy to talk to you about that as well. But for apologies, actually, John, just to touch on that, for Middle Eastern country guys, anybody who actually wants to teach there, you need a level 5 TEFL. For some reason, it's the only place that are now requesting a level 5 TEFL cert. The 120 hours is the industry standard all over the world, Europe, Asia, South America, everywhere. But for some reason, in the last 6 months to a year, I don't know if it's in the Middle East, but the UAE in particular are saying now on the job applications, level 5 TEFL required. Don't know why, but that is a requirement. So yeah. Do we offer internships in Spain? It's not open at the moment, but we are definitely working on getting one open. And I think in the next 2 to 3 weeks, we will have one open. So have a look, keep an eye on the website and things like that, Aisling. Again, O'Shawn, if you have any information on teaching in Spain, we will have a couple of schools looking for people, guys. So definitely keep an eye on the website. I know there definitely will be a couple of positions open up, so email in and just be asked to be put on the Spain waiting list, and we can contact you then. And as well, like we did yesterday with the info session on Thailand, for every time we have one of our internships open, we will be doing an info session on each country. So if Spain opens up, if France opens up, Italy, all those things, we will be doing those. Sorry guys, there's so many questions, so I'm trying to get through them all. Is it possible to teach in North America? Yes, it is. Yes, it absolutely is. I would recommend level 5 for like the USA as well, and for the Australia and things like that. I taught in a language school in Australia, not America. I taught in Canada as well, actually, in Toronto in a language school. So yes, it's absolutely possible. How many places are available for each internship roughly? It's so different from internship to internship, Saoirse. Like for example, last year for Thailand, we had 45 students go, and this year we only have 10 spaces. And that was purely down to like everything that happened this year and things like that. So they're way more limited than they were last year, unfortunately. So yeah, my advice would be, if you're looking to go on one, get in touch. How long on average would the process for applying for a job in Vietnam, from applying for a job to getting a visa to arriving in the country? David, or for a bit of background on Vietnam, actually my colleague Becky was in Vietnam and would be able to give you a lot more information than I would. So if you ever want to call in, just ask for her. But our internship in Vietnam is not opening this year. Our partners have decided to not go ahead with everything that's going on, which is interesting, but our job is open. We have a Vietnam job. Now, the only thing for that Vietnam job, you definitely need a bit of experience. So I'm not sure if you do. But definitely worth getting in touch, and we're looking at that. I'm not too sure about the visa process. I've heard it's hard to get a job in the UAE without experience. What's your take on this? Again, I'm not sure, because I've had friends who've got jobs in the UAE without experience, and I don't know, were they just lucky in that case, or is it the norm? But again, definitely call the office, because my colleague taught there for a year and she's a bit of an expert on the subject. What's the difference between the government regulated TEFL courses and the accredited fast track? Biggest difference is that the government regulated are level 5, and the fast track would be equivalent to a level 3. As I said, the 120 hours at the moment is the industry standard all over the world, bar the UAE. They are now requiring a level 5. So depending on where you want to go, you mightn't have to do the level 5. Or if you're, for example, somebody who has a background in education or is already a teacher and you're only looking kind of for a refresher course or a fast track, I would recommend the fast track courses. Any chance for internships for non-natives, no degree and no experience, level 5 qualified teachers? Being a non-native speaker and having no degree, you can be quite limited, but we do have, for example, if you have a good experience in a level 5, an internship in Cambodia that you could apply to, that will be opening pretty soon as well. Do you offer part-time jobs like for the weekends online, or just full-time jobs where you'd have to relocate? With us, Lauren, our jobs are what we offer. We offer training. Obviously, we offer the license for you to teach, and we offer internships and jobs abroad. In terms of part-time jobs here, we don't offer that, but we can definitely recommend where you could start looking and where you could start applying for those things. And do I need experience to teach in North America? Again, I'm not 100% sure on that, but it's always good to get experience if you can. But of course, guys, everybody has to start somewhere. You know, it's impossible to never have had experience, and it's the same in every industry. What I would recommend to people is, if you're not teaching online, get online even before you go abroad, because that's experience. It's always counting. And what a lot of people don't remember is that you can volunteer in local primary, secondary language schools here. Like for example, here in Cork, there's like 4 language schools. In Dublin, there's like 8 or 9. Galway, there's 3 or 4. There is absolutely no harm in you going in there volunteering. That still all counts as experience. Do you know what I mean? These people, when they say they want 2 to 3 years of experience, they don't expect you to come in here with a primary school experience, government school contracted for 2 to 3 years. You know, they just want to know that you're a bit familiar. So all these types of experience count. Online experience, volunteering, coaching, leadership, all these type of things will come into play. And as I said, this year, especially in 2021, there's a massive demand for online teaching. So do try and get on it if you can. And there are, I suppose, a smaller amount of teachers wanting to go abroad because of the pandemic. I, for some reason, have gone the complete opposite to everybody else. I'm like dying to get out of the country because I feel like I'm not allowed. So I'm like, I want to go even more. Yeah, and actually this is the longest time I've never been abroad. Actually, I haven't been abroad since last November. So this is a year. I think in the last like 11, 12 years, this is the longest time being in Ireland, and I have itchy feet and I want to go. So definitely 2021. John, I'm planning to work online and travel. Of all the countries you've traveled to, which ones would you recommend to visit the most? I won't talk too long on this because I'll just bore all of you. But my favorite place to teach English online, I think when I compared the cost of living and what I would get paid on an Irish wage, you know, because when I was teaching online, I was obviously getting an Irish wage or a UK wage, or whatever company you decide to work for online, just consider the cost of living. But when I went to South America, I absolutely fell in love with Peru and ended up staying there like 5 weeks. I wasn't meant to, because the cost of living was so low and I was getting so much online. It was just amazing. So I think South America for me, in terms of teaching online, like Peru, Bolivia was unreal, Chile, Argentina. Where else? And places that people think that might be expensive, and one that I like to mention is Fiji. Because people think, oh my God, Fiji, it's so expensive and everything like that. But if you don't stay in these 5-star hotel resorts, it's actually so reasonable. I mean, I stayed in like kind of little private host families. I stayed in like hostels, which were really decent. Like I got a private room in these places and traveled all around Fiji for 3 weeks, like on €20 a night, something like that. And so when people first think, oh my God, Fiji, I won't be able to afford to go there. Yes, you can. Yes, you absolutely can. As long as you don't stay in these 5-star resorts. So for me, teaching online is literally the key, because it's like you can go anywhere you want without visa restrictions and all these type of things. Yeah, guys, I think that's it. It is 5:45 here anyway. Thank you so much for all your questions, because there was loads came in there, and I know I didn't get around to everybody, but I really appreciate all the questions and how interactive everybody was. Again, as I said, we are really here to help. So once you are part of the student alumni, or if you're doing a course with us, any of the courses, we are more than happy to kind of help you. Absolutely get to your dream destination in 2021. So if you are looking to go anywhere, please just call in and we will try to find some way or another to get you to that country. Absolutely. And it was lovely. And again, thank you to Saoirse. Thank you so much. Saoirse, that was great. And I wish you all the best in Japan. Sure, look, we'll be talking before then anyway.
Thank you so much for having me.
No, more than welcome. And I hope it did help. And as I said, please feel free to call the office tomorrow or next week if you have any more questions and you want more details on specific programs opening up, and all the information is on the website as well. So guys, thanks a million. I'm going to leave you now because we actually have our Christmas party tonight, which we are all very excited about. A bit different this year, obviously, with the restrictions, but we do have our Christmas party this evening. So looking very much forward to that. So thanks guys, have a great evening, and we'll talk to you all soon. Okay, thanks Saoirse. All right, bye.